All right, ladies and gentlemen, here today to discuss about AEW Dynamite June 11th, 2021 review. This was a good show as well. This was a fun, enjoyable Dynamite episode. 2 weeks in a row, they have outdone Smackdown heavily on every aspect outside of Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is probably by far the best storyline driven thing going on in WWE. Actually, it's not probably, it is the best. And it's probably the best storyline between the two shows, between Dynamite and Smackdown. But as an overall whole, AEW Dynamite delivers on every aspect that they need to provide to their wrestling fans. They give you 100%, complete effort throughout the show from beginning to end. I will say that I have been a little bit disappointed with the choices of the main event to the shows for the last 2 weeks, because I don't see them as legit main event quality matches. But I think the probable reason for why they're doing that is because they're near the 12 o'clock hour. They probably assume there's not a lot of people tuning in for it, so they'd rather get the good stuff in the first hour and a half, and put the non-important stuff in the end of the show. That's the only logical reasoning behind why they keep putting main event matches that are not real main event matches in my book. So if that's the reason why they're doing it, I completely understand. But they don't feel like legit main event matches in my book. You had Hangman Page and 10 go up against Brian Cage and Will Hobbs as the main event. That, to me, is not main event. That is a fucking middle of the show type of thing, like a 9 o'clock hour, maybe the kickstart of the show, but main event, no. You also had a 6-man tag team match with Brandon Cutler, and the Young Bucks versus Pentagon Jr., Pac, and Eddie Kingston. That match, to me, was main event quality, because it was based off of one of the stronger storylines going on within the company. The other thing is they could have went with the pinnacle being the last segment of the show with what Jericho and the Inner Circle did to their limousine. That was also another great segment that could have been the last image you've seen on AEW Dynamite. But with this being at the 10 o'clock hour on a Friday night, where most people are probably out doing their own thing, living life, with things getting a little bit more back to normal than what it used to be since last year, this being the closest we've come to being at a normal society since this pandemic started, I don't think people are sitting in their homes anymore just doing nothing. They're out and about, they're going to clubs, they're meeting people, they're hanging out with friends, they're going to the beach, they're doing all kinds of shit, depending on where you're located in the United States. But you get my point. So, what started the show? We're just going to go over the matches, and then I'll go over all the different promo segments. I'm not going to do this in any specific order. It's going to be like what Smackdown was, a 20-minute video or so. It's not going to be a very long one, as long as I can prevent it from being that way, because my voice is kind of shot, and I'm not really into doing a whole lot of talking here today. I've had a long work week, so I'm just really not into doing a full-blown 40-minute plus review like I have been the last couple of weeks. And what the hell's going on with my computer? Oh, this is great. Here we go again. Jesus. Okay. So, anyway, I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on with my computer. Every time I do this freaking review here, I always have problems with it. All right. Anyway, let's go into some of these matches that I can remember off the top of my head until I can get this fucking website to come back up. We had the TNT Championship with Evil Uno going up against Miro for the TNT Championship. Miro did very well in this, or not Miro, Evil Uno. He did very well in this matchup against Miro. Miro was very tough. Evil Uno put up a good fight here. Great action overall between these two guys. Solid, entertaining stuff. Miro walks away victorious with the camel clutch, game over, finishing maneuver, submission. And he kind of altered the way he does his submission now. He bends his opponent backwards on their back and really pulls down on their neck and ultimately knocking them unconscious. Very, very intimidating maneuver here. He's really altered the camel clutch maneuver and has made it very, very painful looking, in my opinion. So solid match for him. He walks away victorious. Lance Archer faced a fucking nobody. He beat him in less than a minute. They say 20 minutes was the time limit for this match. This match didn't even go a minute. It was a joke. Lance Archer beat the shit out of him, walked away. Very pissed off regardless of the fact that he won. Didn't stand there and, celebrate. I totally understand why. I mean, you've been on a horrible losing streak. Every time you get a title opportunity, you fucking lose. So why wouldn't you be pissed off? I wouldn't be too happy on my run in AEW at all. Can't believe I almost said WWE. But anyway, so he wins his match. The Brandon Cutler and the Young Bucks went up against Eddie Kingston, Pac, and Pentagon Jr. Very good matchup here. Good action overall. Eddie Kingston was performing at a very high level here. I loved the little storyline they had going on during this match between Pac and Eddie Kingston. There's a lot of making up to do and a lot of respect to be earned here by Eddie Kingston after what he did with the faction of Pentagon Jr. and his brother, and also Pac, with all the things he had to say, and about the two brothers as well. So, yeah, that was a lot of stuff that Eddie Kingston said back in the day. Well, not really back in the day. Several months ago, and when he turned complete heel on them. And he's now in need to earn respect here at this point, which is a great thing. I think it's a good story. I think it's something that they could really develop here in getting Kingston to earn respect. Yeah, so overall, very good action between the trios, with Pac, Eddie Kingston, and Pentagon Jr. versus Brandon Cutler and the Young Bucks. This was really entertaining, fun shit. Great tag team wrestling there, most of all. So let's go ahead a little further here. Go over the other matches. I'm not remembering off the top of my head. I forgot also Christian Cage went up against what's his face? Angelico in a one-on-one match. This was not all that impressive of a matchup. It's usually these matches with Christian Cage lately, to me, have been this. Christian Cage goes up against a young talent. The young talent does most of the legwork. He takes a beating, and then he picks up the victory at the end. That's a very, very repetitive matchup. I don't particularly like that, number one. Number two, it definitely displays how old Christian has gotten. I kind of feel like maybe he has lost his touch in a way. He's not doing terrible in the ring, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he has the same speed and stamina that he once had when he was younger. So I think Father's Time has finally caught up with him. I don't think he really is producing a whole lot of anything in these matches, personally. I think his in-ring work has been not sloppy, but very, he doesn't have to do much. The young talent carries him through the match. He does the legwork at the end, and he just picks up a victory. That's all he does. It's something very similar to what John Cena used to do. I understand why people dislike John Cena for that reason. But they're not really telling a great story when you got a guy who is as old as Christian Cage doing the same thing that John Cena did in his 20s and early 30s. It just doesn't work. I really feel that is very shitty storytelling, number one. Number two, it's not believable. It's very insulting to the intelligence of a person who has a brain, I feel. And that's just how I feel on that subject. But yeah, Christian Cage walked away victorious with the unprettier, and that was pretty much it. He hit the kill switch is what they call it now. Hardy ends up eventually beating the shit out of Cage. He gets the twist of fate on Cage and gets the victory, or not really a victory, but gets the upper hand on Cage at this point, and that's pretty much that. So let's go into the I already discussed about Pac and the trios match. That was great stuff. Let's see what other stuff took place. Miro and Evil Uno, I've already discussed that. Lance Archer. Nyla Rose went up against Layla Hirsch. This was a good match. Layla Hirsch is actually a woman I would love to see have an opportunity for the AEW Women's Championship. She's very good in the ring. Very good. She did a great job here. Unfortunately, she lost to Nyla Rose, and that was pretty much that. Brian Cage, Powerhouse Hobbs, went up against Hangman Page and 10. Hangman Page and 10 actually win the match with the dismissal of Brian Cage. Brian Cage got pissed off again. He's fed up of cheating in matches. He's got Ricky Starks, Will Hobbs, and Hook constantly trying to get him in situations where he needs to cheat to win the match. He doesn't want to do that anymore. He is doing a face turn. That is what's going on here. He's tired of cheating. He wants to win things clean and fair. So that's really where they're going with this. He ends up walking out of the match, and Hobbs is by himself. He gets hit with the buckshot lariat, and 10 picks up the victory for the 1-2-3 for his team, and they walk away victorious. They celebrate on the stage with some beers. -1 actually had a bottle of water alongside with Colt Cabana, and that is how the show went off the air. Now, going into some of the things that took place during the segments, like the promos and so forth, let's go into that next. So, the first thing after the first match with Christian Cage is Tony Schiavone announces next week it will be Cody Rhodes and Brock Anderson versus QT Marshall and Aaron Solo. Cody Rhodes comes out to the ring along with Arn Anderson and Brock Anderson, not Brock Lesnar. They got a typo on this fucking Wrestling Incorporated, which I could not believe. When they said Brock, Tony Schiavone said Brock, I thought they were going to say Brock Lesnar, because that is, the name Brock is infamous with Lesnar. You know, and I'm just sitting there going, oh my God, Brock, what? Brock Lesnar you're talking about? He's coming to AEW? I'm like, nah, that ain't fucking really going to happen. And then they said Brock Anderson, so I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds more real. Brock Lesnar, I think there's a fucking mistake here in the promo. So Cody says Brock is going to show people he wasn't born on third base. He's very excited to show everyone what he can do in the ring. Rhodes mentions beating Anthony Ogogo, which brings out QT Marshall, who reminds Cody who won the tag team match. Marshall tells Cody he's tired of the vanity projects like Brock. Marshall is tired of the second generation wrestlers. Marshall says he wants to face Cody in the South Beach strap match on July 7th in Miami. I wish I lived in Miami. I would so fucking go to that show. I wish they'd do something in Amalie Arena, which is where I live. I live in Tampa, Florida. St. Petersburg / Tampa, Florida. I'm right across the bridge from the arena, by the way. So I kind of wish they would actually show up in Amalie Arena. I know you guys, most of you guys who are subscribed to this channel probably are not familiar with the Tampa Bay area or anything like that. So apologize for acting as if I'm only speaking to people that live in the area I live in. So apologize about that. Marshall ends up taking off his belt and get a cheap shot on the back of Arn Anderson. Brock leaps and takes down Marshall in a very nice ground and pound maneuver by Brock Anderson. I'm always afraid now I'm going to say Brock Lesnar by mistake. And then throws a few punches on QT Marshall. And that's pretty much how that segment ended. The next thing on the show was the Pinnacle. Oh yeah, video package made by Kenny Omega, Don Callis, and the company about a conspiracy theory. A conspiracy that to take the title off Omega, clips shown from Omega's title match against Orange Cassidy and Pac at Double or Nothing. Very weak, load of shit, but better than what fucking Sami Zayn did with his own conspiracy, which I felt was a complete flop, and yet they still continue to do this horrendous storyline that he's being screwed over all the time. Don't quite understand that bullshit. So the Pinnacle heads out to the ring to talk for the first time since their loss to Double or Nothing. And MJF and company are not in a good mood. Dax Hardwood says they may have lost, but that match wasn't meant for them. He talks to Santana Ortiz, notes both team came from nothing, but they never lost their edge like Santana and Ortiz have. Hardwood says he has a family to take care of and will continue to do so. Wheeler says he doesn't have a family and don't give a shit about Santana Ortiz's family, which made Hardwood actually laugh at that comment by Wheeler. Shawn Spears then says Sammy Guevara got his moment of the lifetime at Spears' expense, and he says Sammy isn't a hero. He's nothing more than a glorified indie wrestler at this point. Spears says he's the hero, and they aren't finished. The group calms him down, and then Wardlow talks directly to Jake Hager. Says Jake is obsessed with him, almost like Hager needs him as a way of continuing to make himself relevant. Or maybe, he could have said, you kind of make me think that you're insecure about who you are as a professional wrestler. Could have said something like that, which I think would have been a nice touch to the promo, but it wasn't bad without it anyway. So it doesn't make really a difference in my opinion, but I think that would have been just a nice add-on to it. Wardlow says Hager brings him to his comfort zone because he knows he can't beat Wardlow in the ring. He says in 1 week he accepts the MMA cage fight challenge, and that match should be good. I hope that is the main event for next week's episode, but I doubt it will be because, like I said, I think they are possibly going to be interested in trying to get the most ratings out of those matches. So they're probably just going to want to give the fans something to watch for, because they probably don't believe the fans are sticking through all the way to the very end of the show like they normally would do on a Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. So they're probably just going ahead and putting all the good stuff in the beginning of the show, and then kind of putting all the crap that doesn't really mean all that much at the end of the show. So MJF gets on the mic and says he knows he's the best, but that's pressure, and that's daunting to most people. MJF says he grew up idolizing Chris Jericho. MJF talks about the Jacksonville rally when AEW first started. When he first saw Jericho, he said it should have been a dream come true to wrestle him, but ultimately he's just a false god, and just like everyone else. You're not even remotely on my level, MJF says. Jericho's match request is denied at this point. So he rips on Sammy Guevara a bit and then says Sammy doesn't belong in the same ring with him, let alone even speak his name out of his own mouth. So Jericho shows up on the big screen and says MJF should already know what happens when Inner Circle doesn't get what they want. Jericho, with a bat in hand, walks over to the Pinnacle's limo, and the group just starts destroying the fucking limo. After several windows being smashed and destroyed, and graffiti written all over the limousine, Jake Hager shows up in a forklift and drives the forklift straight into the side of the limo and lifts it up. I think they were trying to ultimately flip it over, but I think it was unsuccessful, so they just put it down, making it look completely destroyed. So they get the doors off the hinges on the side of the car where the forklift and ultimately ran into it. Jericho tells the Pinnacle to call an Uber, which was a really good slap in their face, and Sammy calls MJF a company bitch and will fight him anytime. Group rides off in a forklift, flicking off the camera. And that's pretty much that for that segment. I actually enjoyed that very much. That reminded me a lot of old school Attitude Era days, back when you had like the NWO driving the semi-truck through the ambulance with The Rock in it. You had images of like back in the day where Stone Cold Steve Austin put cement inside of a Corvette of Vince McMahon's car. Austin with with a monster truck running over The Rock's limousine type of shit. That was great stuff. And this reminded me a lot of that. I thought that was really cool shit. I like when they try to reintroduce or bring back some of the old stuff they used to do back in the day in the late 90s, early 2000s. I thought that was good stuff. Out of the box type of experience, and yet still very simple, but also incredibly entertaining to watch them just destroy shit outside, which I thought was great. So kudos to them for doing all that. I thought that was very awesome. Darby Allin and Sting actually make an announcement to the proposal by Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky's tag team match idea, and that match is going to take place. Only one problem. He requested, first off, Sting to not be there at Dynamite next week, and he refuses to have a tag team partner and chooses to be in a handicap match instead. Sting is very kind of against this idea. He thinks it's very unfair. He's putting himself behind the 8 ball. He says, look, man, just pick a partner, though. I mean, I understand maybe you don't want me there because you want to prove something, but you don't have to put yourself you don't have to put yourself so far behind the 8 ball that it's near impossible for you to have a chance to win. And he says, look, I respect the hell out of you, Sting. I'm not going ahead and trying to disrespect you, but I need to do this alone. I don't need a partner. I don't need you there. I don't need nobody. I need to get in that ring and prove to myself that I can win this match without having a partner help me win the match. And that's what this whole storyline is. This is a chip on Darby Allin's shoulders. I don't know if this is trying to help elevate him to the next level to where he would face for a world championship in the near future or something, which I think that's probably the direction they're going. To be quite frank with you guys, the best guys right now that are, in my eyes, legitimately good enough to have the world championship on the face side of things would be Hangman Page, but he needs to get some more important storylines going on. Darby Allin is actually looking better than Hangman Page right now, and Hangman Page isn't doing bad in the ring at all. I'm not discrediting his in-ring ability lately. He's been doing very good in the matches with Brian Cage, but he needs to get a better storyline going on here and get out of this whole Brian Cage Taz scenario situation. So I kind of think that is not really helping him and building him into a better character to be competitive for the world title. I think it was a good stepping stone for him to do, but they need to have him move past this now and move on to something else that'll raise the bar even more for Hangman Page. What they're doing with Darby Allin is perfect. I think it's good stuff that they're doing here. They're making him have this chip on his shoulder where he needs to prove himself and really earn the right to be able to say he's one of the top guys in AEW. So I really enjoy and actually think that is good stuff for him, building him into the next level superstar that he could be, and possibly even a future world champion. Just a small thing. Evil Uno says he wants to make Brody Lee proud of him by bringing the TNT title back to the Dark Order. He loved to see any member win a title, but he'd like to do it and validate his 17-year career in wrestling. And that's pretty much what he had to say there. Nothing really all that important, just a lot of respect for Brody Lee and what they have done together in the wrestling business when Brody Lee was still alive. Next segment was Tony Schiavone doing a promo interview with Kenny Omega and Don Callis. Tony asked them about this conspiracy theory they have talked about. Callis says it's a con job of epic proportions to take the title off of Omega. Callis tells Jungle Boy he's just a one-hit wonder. Omega says he knows he's supposed to sell this upcoming match like Jungle Boy is some massive challenger, but he says Jungle Boy actually reminds him of a young Omega. Maybe one day he'll be a champion, but he's missing something. Callis then says he's missing guts. He doesn't have any guts to get in the ring with Kenny Omega. Jungle Boy's music hits, and he heads out to the ring. Crowd with a nice pop for the challenger. Omega says Jungle Boy has nothing to say because he doesn't have the guts. He wonders if Jungle Boy going to get into a fight or battle of wits with him with the best on the mic. He asks Jungle Boy what he has to say, and he has 5 seconds to respond or he's going to kick his ass. Jungle Boy calmly responds Omega talks way too much. That's what he had to say. And Omega gets pissed off, so he takes a cheap shot, misses, and hits a bunch of forearms to Omega with a rack to the eyes and throws a few punches. Jungle Boy dodges Omega and nearly locks in the snare trap, but Young Bucks run out to save Omega for the end of this segment. Very good segment. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was good stuff. And we had Mark Sterling talks about how Jade Cargill's stock is already going up with his help. They have booted the freeloaders and will make sure she's going to be a household name across the nation. She mentions wanting to capitalize on her catchphrase that the other women in AEW can't keep out of their mouth, because I am that bitch. That's all she had really to say there. I'm not too impressed with what's going on here with Jade Cargill's build here. She's not really done anything lately. She's been out of in-ring action for a while. All she keeps doing is trying to look for this. I guess you could say Mark Sterling is more like an agent for her than a mouthpiece or anything of that kind. I'm not quite sure. I'm not really liking it anyway. It doesn't really make a difference what he is. So I'm not too impressed with any of the shit that they've been doing with her. Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky also talk about Darby Allin and about his decision. They feel like it's a very dumb decision at this point. Page says there are consequences to what he decides to do, but bit by bit, they are going to chop Allin down and rise up to the next level and be the Men of the Year. That's their new tag team name. They're Men of the Year. Big whoop. All right. Overall, the rest of it was just a bunch of matches I just went over with you guys. Next week, just to go over what's going to be taking place, QT Marshall and Aaron Solo will go up against Cody Rhodes and Brock Anderson. Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky in a handicap match against Darby Allin and Penta El Zero Meadow. Eddie Kingston and Frankie Kazarian will go up against Matt Jackson and the Good Brothers now. Sounds like a little bit of a kind of a thing WWE would do. That's a little concerning. It's just one match. Who cares? Jim Ross will sit down with Andrade El Idolo. I'm going to learn how to pronounce his name. If I mispronounce it, I do apologize. We'll just go with Andrade at this point, since it's a little bit easier to pronounce. Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander will be going up against Cesar. It's just going to be Orange Cassidy up against Cesar Bononi. And then we're going to have Wardlow versus Jake Hager in a MMA rules cage fight, which I hope is the main event of Friday night's episode of Dynamite. If not, I don't know how I'll feel about it, but whatever. I think this should be the main event of the show. It's got main event quality, and my God, it's different than just regular, ordinary wrestling that we see on a week-to-week basis anyhow. So that's pretty much it, guys. This show is a pretty good, decent show overall from beginning to finish. It had some good storyline telling. And outside of Roman Reigns and the Usos on Smackdown, this show kicked Smackdown's ass. Really, bottom line, if it wasn't for the Usos and Roman Reigns, Smackdown would be a complete and utter waste of everybody's time. Because last night's Smackdown was shit. This, you didn't get that kind of spark coming from the storyline like Roman Reigns and the Usos from last night's SmackDown. But this episode had a overall good flow to it. It made you stay interested in it from the beginning to the end of the show. It had decent storylines to get invested in. So there was some good stuff here that took place on this episode, despite the fact of my opinion on the main event being what it was. But regardless of all that, from beginning to end, as an overall show, it was a really good show. It was a good show to watch. It got you through 2 hours. It didn't bore the shit out of you. You got some good matches here and there. You had some good storylines. You had a really good segment with the Inner Circle and Pinnacle. As always, they're always producing good segments. So, I mean, at the end of the day, guys, this was a good show. This was a really good show compared to what SmackDown has done. And 2 weeks in a row, I give Dynamite a hell of a thumbs up, man, for what they've done compared to what SmackDown has been doing. I honestly don't know why they're not really competing up against SmackDown just to see how they would do. I don't understand why. I guess maybe they're afraid to do that. Maybe they're afraid to take the next step up and see where they would go. Or maybe they can't. Maybe TNT ain't got a time slot for them to take at 8 o'clock on Friday nights. I'm not sure. I would definitely tune in for Dynamite over SmackDown. If you guys heard me do a review on Friday night, it would be Dynamite over Smackdown. Smackdown would be pushed over to Saturday night, and that would be it. The only reason why I can't review Dynamite on Friday night immediately after it's done is because the damn show doesn't end until 12 o'clock at night, number one. And number two, I'll be fucking dead tired by the time the show ends. So I just would prefer going ahead and doing it on Saturday nights, giving you guys this review. Just to give you guys a heads up on something else, Impact Wrestling Against All Odds is taking place here tonight at 8 o'clock. I'm not going to be watching it live. I may end up watching it live. I'm not sure. Depending on what I'm doing. Probably going to be playing some video games. Do Call of Duty Cold War. See how I can do on that and get further through the game. Because I haven't been playing it all that much between work and doing these reviews and so forth. But if I don't do it tonight, I'll definitely have it uploaded on Monday night. Because NXT TakeOver in Your House is definitely taking place on Sunday night. I will be providing you guys that video. That will be uploaded immediately after the show is over. So you guys will hear my opinions and viewpoint on that. Guaranteed. Guaranteed, guys. So that's all I have to say at this time. So you know what to do. Hit the like button if you like this video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. And leave a comment down below. I'll definitely get back to you on that. And I thank you guys very much for watching. Have a great night, guys. Bye.